If you guys are ready, here we go.
Absolutely.
All right, we're going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. I hate that. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The mission.
And just to remind everyone, the mission of the Harrisonville Cass R9 School District is to achieve excellence in education. All right, we will move on with the preview and approval of the agenda. We need a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we'll move on to the consent agenda. We need a motion for the approval of the consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
I'm sorry, who made the motion?
Aye.
Doug made the motion. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we will just jump right on down to audience delegations. I do believe we have one for this evening.
All right, just a couple of things. The very first thing I wanted to just reiterate, Happy's number one observation when she did the budget was retaining all of the teachers in the district, and for us to be sure and to pay attention to that. And that falls right into board policy GCD-1. And I really appreciated reading that the recommendation was to approve the revisions to the board policy as it will be presented tonight. And I talked to, since last board's meeting, I talked to a couple of administrators just because I wanted to kind of get their ideas on some of the items. And one of the people I talked about said in their time here, they didn't have to. They interviewed one in-district person that had applied for the job, the only in-district person that applied for it. The other administrator I talked to said that they have had to do it 2, maybe 3 times at the most. So there's not, I can't ever see there being an excess of in-district employees applying for the same job. And when it comes to an administrator interviewing those people, it could be just as simple as them calling them into the office, discussing what their qualifications are, letting those employees, letting those current teachers know that there are several great qualified people applying for the job, just so that they'll know that this is what you're up against. Yes, love that you applied for it, interviewing, but, so that's the other thing. Another thing that was kind of mentioned last board meeting was feelings getting hurt, and that's life, guys. You don't apply for the job, you don't get it, you suck it up and you try the next time that something comes through. So, another thing I wanted to ask, if you've ever considered putting you guys are doing a $200 addition to the base. Have you ever considered starting the $200 addition on step 2 instead of the base? Because when it goes on the base, the extra duty assignments, all of their salaries, their increases go up also. I haven't done this for a couple of years, but Chris Ray and I sat down a few years ago and we figured out what it costs the district every time that base goes up, and the amount is unbelievable. So I would want for you guys to kind of consider considered starting on step 2 with the $200 and letting then it filter through. The other thing is on the proposed clerical business office technology salary. The second column is clerical class 2 principal and AD registrar. The next one is building class 3. One's just school buildings. The other one is the administration district central office. If we could kind of get those closer together and hourly rate, there's quite a bit of space between what the building ones pay and the central office ones.
All right, and now we will move on to student recognitions, and I believe Dr. Watkins is going to do some introductions.
Yeah. We're going to start with Becky Campbell, who's the principal of the Early Childhood Center. She has a few students and guests.
I brought some lovely ladies this evening, and the first lovely lady I'm going to introduce is Mrs. Jennifer Gunderson, who's one of our kindergarten teachers. And actually, out of these 4 ladies that are here this evening, 3 of them are her students, so she's going to help me pass out some things to them. I asked these ladies to come this evening because they have been at school for 99% of the time this year. So we're very proud of them. That's hard in kindergarten. We pass germs. And sometimes parents think it's okay to go on vacation because we're just in kindergarten. So first of all, I want to give an applause to these parents that are here tonight that recognize the importance of attendance. And then I would like to recognize some of our students having the 99% attendance. They're going to get a certificate. They're going to get a Royals hat, and then they're going to get 2 free Royals tickets, and then you can buy some discounts.
Excellent.
Wow.
So the first recipient is Harper Gilmore. We've got a fabulous picture. Mrs. Filer, they're used to Mrs. Filer telling them where to stand for pictures. And then next we have Phoenix Kaufman. And we have Blakely Milam. I said earlier, Mrs. Gunderson must do really fun things in her class that her kids don't ever want to miss. And then we have Miss Kinsley Smith. There you go. So congratulations. Good job, don't chill back, you guys can exit.
Laura Fries is here from.
Thank you.
Good job.
Hey, we're gonna figure it out. That's good.
Thank you, parents.
Good job. Could I have your Royals tickets? I guess not.
This year, yes.
Yeah, maybe the hat.
Yeah.
Not the tickets.
My 7th grade class participated in a PSA competition this year for the first time. It's one of those things that you get in your mailbox every year, like, oh, you could make a PSA and there's a grant, and you're like, oh. And this year I decided to do it because I have such a really neat group of 7th grade kids. There are just 10 in that class, and they really work well together, and we could only submit 1 video from our school, so that was a good group to do it with. So they made a soft puppet video about saving energy and energy efficiency at work and at home. And we got invited to the awards ceremony a couple weeks ago in Kansas City, and we didn't know what we placed. They're like, you're one of the top schools, so come and get your prize. And we're like, great, well, we'll be really happy with 3rd place, which would have been $1,000. And they announced the third place winners, and it wasn't us. And then we were like, oh, cool, second. That's exciting. Our first time doing it. And when they announced the second place winners, and we were not that either. And then we were like, oh my gosh. So one school from Kansas and one school from Missouri won the $3,000 grant. And we are supposed to spend it on energy efficiency initiatives at school or on science stuff. So it really is awesome. And we're still brainstorming some ways to spend it. We spent a little bit on ice cream on the way home. That was just my money. But five of my kiddos are here tonight that created this video and went to the ceremony and are coming up with ways to save energy at work and at home. So I have Court Deveni, who is not on the list, but come on up here, Court. Menda Schroeder. Carolina Macheski. Carly Surgeon. And Mackenzie Parks.
Video on
It is on
Facebook
YouTube.
or on YouTube?
It's on
Okay.
YouTube, yes.
And what do you search?
If you search is it on Facebook too?
Yeah.
If you search HUEE, actually it will pop up. There's a couple of them. So they did, and we got to use our new green screen at the middle school for that too. So that was kind of fun using our technology.
Who played the socks?
Sock
hands.
actors, raise your hand.
Sock.
That's good. Thanks, guys. Great. Yeah. And we have Mark Wiegers, the high school.
Good evening. High school would like to recognize 5 students who were awarded the Casey Scholars Scholarship this year. We have 3 freshmen who qualified, Kaylee Caldwell, Emmy Hutchins, and Katie Ricker. They'll come up. So these 3 freshmen were awarded the College Savings Account Match, which is awarded to be in 9th grade. These are the requirements. You have to be a current 9th grader, have to be in a public, charter or private high school in one of 6 eligible counties, Cass being one of them. Have to be from lower modest income, have at least a 2.5 cumulative GPA in 9th grade, and they're going to get a college savings account open for them with a $50 deposit put in it, and then everything that's put in after that is a 4-to-1 match.
Wow. 4 to 1?
Wow.
Wow.
And then if they meet certain benchmarks throughout high school, they get another $2,000 on top of it. So when they leave high school, they're going to have a great jump start in college.
Cool.
And then we have 2 juniors, Elite Koo and Mercedes Chavez.
Yeah.
So as juniors, Casey Scholars, basically the same requirements as the freshmen, but they have to have a cumulative 2.5 throughout high school at least. They have to have a 16 on the ACT or better, 800 or better on the SAT. And what these 2 have won is a renewable $10,000 scholarship that's renewable for 5 years.
Wow.
So they have $50,000 for college.
Way to go.
Just real quick, I'm going to read you the list of colleges that they can go to. And these colleges participate in this Casey Scholars Program. It's Avila, Baker, Donnelly College, Johnson County Community College, Kansas City Art Institute, Kansas City, Kansas Community College, K-State, Lincoln University, any of the metropolitan community colleges, Park University, Rockhurst, the University of Central Missouri. That's where you're. University of Kansas, MU, UMKC, Western Governors University, William Jewell. So they got $50,000.
Very good.
That's great.
Wow.
Nice job.
Very gracious. I sent him an email. Send me the Yeah, I don't know. start looking at the name.
Presentation.
Oh, well.
Thank you.
Mark, you want to introduce your council? Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
So Harrisonville High School is one of 43 high schools across the state of Missouri that get to participate in the Missouri College Advising Tour. I brought with me tonight Samantha Cates. She is our Missouri College Advising Tour advisor, and I'm gonna let her tell you a little bit about the program, how it works, and kind of what she does.
So, not everybody has anything, but I created a little pamphlet packet of information for you guys, so you can spare you some time tonight. As a Missouri College Advising Tour college advisor, it's my goal to help our students go to college, either at a 2-year or 4-year university, tech program, or military, some sort of post-secondary education plan. Not only to help them get there, but to help them have the tools to be successful once they are there. Fun fact about our school specifically, at the bottom of the first page, we had 104 FAFSAs completed at this time in 2017. 115 have been completed this year at this time. Also, I've held 662 one-on-one meetings with the senior class alone. On the second page, you'll see a list of 17 deliverables. I'm responsible for making sure all of these happen at some point throughout the year. I'd like to highlight a couple. I specifically help with ACT prep and registration, college applications, scholarship applications, FAFSA completion, financial aid, award letter, workshops to help them understand that information, financial literacy, financial aid. More fun things would be admission reps from universities of the student's choice. I try to bring them into the school so they can have opportunity to ask in smaller groups questions about the school. We also go on campus tours. We've been to Northwest Missouri State University, Missouri Western, Missouri State down in Springfield, KU, and Indiana this year. On the third page, there's an example of the data that I collect, which just helps us measure what I do in the school and the effectiveness of the program. So, I've enjoyed serving this year and forward to doing that. If you guys have questions, you probably know how to get a hold of me. If not, I have business cards. So.
I had a question for you real quick. The total amount of scholarships has increased. Are all those specifically students going to MU, or is it colleges?
No, those are all colleges.
Okay.
Yeah. I know I have the MU label, but I'm not allowed to be biased towards MU. I went to Northwest Missouri State, so if I was going to be biased.
That Missouri College Advising Tour program is based out of MU.
It's based there.
Yeah,
Okay.
But the advisors come from all over the state, like Cindy said, she's from Northwest. We don't hold that against her.
Have you been able to do the college advising website yet? Number 12?
Yes. I do have a Instagram account and a Twitter account. I can give you the information for that.
No, I was just curious if it's out there for the students and they know how to access it and.
Yeah, we do. And then I also post all of my things that I plan on our school websites, counselor's calendar. So they also have information for that. And then at the beginning of the year, I go into every advisory and show them how to access that information.
So, and I'm just scanning this quickly. At the junior level, what do you do with the juniors?
We do a lot of ACT work and then understanding the college timeline and just kind of getting them acclimated and really try and get them to go on our campus tours so they can broaden their horizons. One of our most popular plans is MCC School, which is fantastic. They offer a lot of amazing programs. But if you have a student who has a 3.7 GPA and a 26 on his ACT and can go to a university, and try to give them that opportunity and knowledge of what else is out there.
So if they have specific questions about specific colleges, you try to route them to the correct person or information?
Absolutely. If I can't answer it for them, we make a lot of phone calls in my office to people who can't answer it. So.
Great.
And do you meet?
Oh, go ahead.
Do you meet with parents as well? Do you get much parent participation, or do you? Is that?
I don't get as much parent participation as I would like. I make a lot of phone calls home and send a lot of emails. Don't get as much response as I would like, but I do get some. Yes, parents do like to show up in my office and ask their questions, which is always nice because I do a lot of work with the student and the staff, but the parents are really important in that. So
Yeah, with the FAFSA and
especially with the FAFSA. So, right now that number's at 20%, I believe. Next year my goal is 30% or better with that.
When are those due, by the way?
coincidentally.
Yeah, I'll be in your office.
Come to the advisory classes, and if a junior would want to come to talk to you to start mapping out their plan, do they make an appointment with you?
They can make an appointment or they can come by during the fourth hour. It's the most
Okay.
common time for that.
I'm sorry, I'm planning for my son while we're sitting up here.
We knew where that was.
So how would he go about
perfectly
this?
good sense.
Yeah, just come down and say, hey, is Miss Kate's available? Usually I will make time for them.
And you like parent involvement. Gosh darn it, that makes me happy.
Be careful what you wish for here.
Are you full-time? You have full-time position?
Yes, I am.
Just to add, we have Samantha for 2 years. Again, this is a program that we were talking
that's
about
right.
before. No cost to the school district. This is all funded through, I won't read the whole list, but there's a plethora of groups that pay for this. And we're blessed to have her. She does an amazing job. I'm in and out of that counseling office a lot, and there's always kids in our office.
Right.
So yeah, she's been a good addition.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank you
very
very
much. And I believe now we can move on to our
Bearcat
partner
in there.
organization. We
I did
looks like we've
notice
got the
that.
Drama Booster Club here with us tonight. Beth Keith. Hi.
I didn't know I was going to get to be the drama club representative.
Yay, congratulations.
Good job.
Surprise! Shoes on though. My name is Beth Keith. I happen to be the drama teacher at the high school, also speech and faith coach. But I have the great honor to get to work with a phenomenal group of parent boosters, headed up by Chris Maxwell as our president, and Susan Holden is our vice president. And it's just a tremendous asset to me in my first year here in the district, helping out with everything from ticket sales and concessions on the nights of the shows to feeding the kids, because a lot of our kids don't have transportation home between the school hours and performance time, so they're just kind of stuck at school. So they feed the kids meals in between, and they have just been incredibly supportive of me and giving me great feedback and input on the program, and I just really appreciate them. They do a fundraiser in the summer, which any of you are more than welcome to come join us for, because it's tremendous fun. We usher at Starlight Theater, and for every physical body that we get there to help usher, we get money back from Starlight Theater. And as a bonus for ushering, you also get to see the show for free. So it's also a really win-win situation for our students, because they will come usher with us as well, and then they get to sit and be exposed to more theater, which of course I love that aspect of it as well. We're all set for next year. They have backed me really enthusiastically about starting a summer theater camp this summer for our middle school age kids. And I've got about a dozen kids signed up for that so far, but the deadline's not till the end of the week, so we'll see how many more we might get. But they're terrific, and I'm just really, really blessed to have them, because I've had other parent booster groups not as good. So they're really terrific. I wish we had more in the group, but the ones we have are just amazing.
How many students are you hoping to get in the summer with the middle school summer camp?
I would like to see 20. That was sort of my goal, 15 to 20. I really think we'll hit the 15, shooting for the stars for 20, but it's our first time having a summer theater camp, and so word of mouth and just experience will get us there.
Sure.
So.
Is it a week-long camp? Or?
It is. It's June 4th through the 8th. We're just meeting in the mornings from 9 to noon. The way we have it set up is that every morning when we get there, we'll do some warm-up exercises together as a whole group. Then we'll break off and have student-led workshops. So the high school kids, my kids will lead the younger kids in workshops, and then we'll have a snack time, and then we'll use the rest of the time to rehearse. And then on the Friday of the week, we'll have a performance.
Oh, wow.
So kind of more of a talent showy skit, songs, dances, whatever kind of performance of the things they've learned in the workshops throughout the week. So.
I would bet that even if you have your 7 or 8 this year, it'll probably double next year and then double. And
I'm hoping.
so.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to the MSBA delegate report.
Well, it was kind of interesting. This is my first MSBA delegate report. So as I was working on it this morning and putting it together, I get a ding, and I'd have an email, and something changed. And I got it all done and printed off. Ding, I got another email, and it changed again. So it may have changed since I put this together and finalized it before I left this afternoon. But just a couple of things. Some of you are already aware of most of these. But we do get the updates through MSBA regularly. I know you don't always have time to read them or at least dig into them as deep as you may or may want to. But Senate Bill 949, this is the one that changed throughout the day. It is sponsored by Senator Emery, which many of us know because he is in our what's it called?
Senatorial district.
Our district. It focuses primarily on requiring reading success plans to be established for students kindergarten through 3rd grade for students with a reading deficiency that are at risk for dyslexia or have formal dyslexia. MSBA does strongly oppose it. It's not because there's not a need for students to have this type of extra help and extra work and extra programs, but this bill puts a lot of requirements on the district, saddles the districts with a lot of one-size-fits-all things. One of the things that was the most controversial was that it required a school district to have a summer school program for all of these kids in a certain category in 1st through 3rd grade, regardless of what their reading issue was, regardless of what their needs were, regardless. And so that's really why MSBA was strongly opposing it, because of the mandates, not allowing schools to have that choice, in our district on how to do that. But that was at 9:50. It was updated again because it was in conference today, and they took out the summer school requirement. So that was one thing they took out. MSBA came back and said they like it a little bit better, but they still strongly oppose it because it puts mandates on us, and it's a one-size-fits-all. So probably if we look when we get home tonight, there may have been more. Most certainly tomorrow, because they're going to talk about it again tomorrow. Secondly, I talked to you a little bit about this the last time, the House Bill 1424, which is the bill that was entered or sponsored by Rebecca Rober. She's Lee Summit House representative. And it is the bill that will do 2 things mostly. One, change the election cycle for school boards to November with all of the other partisan elections. And secondly, it will change the term of school board members from 3 years to 4 years. That probably there's some personal reasons for people back and forth there, but the biggest thing that I've read and I've heard, and we heard at our Cass County Kids First Breakfast from some of the other superintendents, is that they really don't want, and MSBA is the same, they really don't want the school board elections to be with the partisan elections so that it gets part of that, this group versus this group. Whereas when we have it in April, typically those are nonpartisan elections. So, however, it's passed through everything at the House, it's gone to the Senate, and it looks like it's from the Senate back to the House, and it looks like there's a good chance that it may pass. Have you heard anything else about it since our last meeting?
Dangerously close, I think.
Yeah. So, anybody and everybody can get on that website, senate.mo.gov, put in House Bill, it's a House Bill 1424. You should be able to get it from the Senate side or the House side and give your opinion, whatever that opinion might be. The other thing we talked about a little bit earlier, but I want to mention again, is that the General Assembly did, as Dr. Watkins said earlier, fund the $98 million increase so that the formula is fully funded, and $10 million increase in school transportation. Like he said, it might not be a windfall. However, it's going in the right direction. We don't have it yet. The governor still has to approve it. It will be on his desk. It is actually on his desk. I don't know physically, but you say it's on his desk to sign now, and they anticipate him signing it at the end of this election. At the end of this General Assembly when it closes May 18th. 3 bills to watch for next year. There's a House bill, again, Rebecca Rober, changes provisions relating to charter schools. If you're interested in what that is looking at, you might want to look that up. 612 is a Senate bill, establishes the Missouri Empowerment Scholarship Accounts Program, and 2200 House bill, Schools of Innovation. Didn't bring any information on those because I didn't want to speak for 30 minutes, but if you're interested, those are some bills probably to watch for next year. Next year's General Assembly convenes January 3rd and again through May 18th. Any more information you want? Senate.mo.gov. It is pretty interesting reading to see. You get lost sometimes in everywhere it goes and where it goes back and where it's at, but it's interesting to see. And I promise you and I guarantee, because I've been involved with the legislative process throughout my years in education, they do listen to us, and they do want input and they ask. And a lot of times they don't get it until after the fact where we're complaining about it. So if you want to know how to do it, call me and I'll tell you. That's all I've got.
Very good.
Thanks, Ben.
All right, I believe we have a donation acknowledgement.
We do. We have, per your policy KH, we did receive from the West Peculiar Fire Department the following donation. 1 Furno cot with an estimated $1,500 value. 1 Furno stair chair estimated at $350. 1 bag of foam splints estimated at $200. And we did receive 100 sections of hose donated to the Career Center Fire Program from the Central Cass Fire Station. So we thank them.
Very good. That's excellent.
And just, Kathy, just for clarification, when we receive donations, it goes into inventory, and if they don't want any longer, it goes by all the rules in terms of whether we purchased it or it was donated, right?
Okay. We will move on to the assessment and evaluation of district programs.
The budget.
Oh, the budget. I'm so sorry. I did this last time too. I don't know. Something trips me up here. The budget.
Right.
How about that?
Yes. At April month end, revenues recorded for the general fund and special revenue combined, of course, are about 3% greater than those in the same period of FY17. Again, attributed to the property tax increase and the timely title reimbursements for the current year and some carried over from last year, and our interest earnings are up for the year. Expenditures still closely mirror those of the same period last year. Actually, they're within 2% of the previous year. General fund expenditures are below the calculated percentage of 78%. We're just, I think it was around 73, so we do see some savings at this point in the year. Total cash and investments are $13.3 million.
Very good. Then the at-risk review.
As presented, just touch on a couple things. Just, the goal to identify students who are not performing to their potential and assist those students in graduating with their peers with the skills and knowledge necessary to be successful in college or a career upon graduation. That actually starts early on, especially with our at-risk or resilient youth. Trying to get them through. We have many different programs in place all the way through. I talked to or sent an email to the principals to share that information. It's continually evolving every year. There's new programs. Some of those programs are legislated. Some come through DESE, and some by way of our own school of working with youth. But to meet those needs, one other thing I just would like to mention is our partnership with Bright Futures, because our partnership as a school with Bright Futures does help our at-risk youth, especially with that the side of meeting some of those social and emotional needs. And so our programs, such as the the game buddies at the early childhood center to lunch buddies to study buddies. And those types of programs, backpack needs, those help meet those, like I said, those social, emotional needs of our students. Academically, we're continually looking at ways to improve to meet those needs. By the time they get into the high school, that's where we play catch up and try to get them to that end. And so we're trying to continually look at ways to not just throw credit recovery down at them and have them making stuff up, but really some of that partnership. And Wildcat Academy has continued to evolve, just like it has this past year with the rebranding of that. Again, through partnership with Bright Futures and the United Methodist Church, they're meeting some of those social, emotional needs. But we can never do enough. But it's also very, very difficult to stay on top and to continually work meeting the needs of our at-risk youth. But I would say we have many resources in place to help our students be successful.
All right. We will move on to Board Policy GCD1. We need a motion.
I'll make the motion that we approve the revisions to Board Policy GCD1 as presented.
I'll second.
Okay. Discussion.
I'll just say real quick some points on the revision. I think it is good for the morale of the district. It sends a message to staff, teachers, and others that we are, as a board and a district, supporting you, that we want you to succeed in your career goals here in the district, and most importantly, we want you to stay with us. Improving retention is a very beneficial goal for the district. It also lets everyone know that you're valued here at Harrisonville High School, or excuse me, Harrisonville School District.
Any other discussion?
This has been, we started this conversation several months ago, Bing and I did, and we all know the evolution. I won't go into that, but I think the message that Bing just articulated is critical. We want our faculty and our employees to understand, number one, we respect and value their contribution to this district, and we want to be supportive as their employer of their career goals and efforts. I'll be honest, I have struggled with this and gone back and forth because what I don't want to do is I don't want to get in the way of the administration. And I recognize, we all saw some information, I think, a month ago, some comments about the potential pitfalls of this. If we change this policy and we require it, we potentially could create some problems, some headaches, some difficult circumstances to get past for the administration. I think I'm now leaning towards trusting our new administration, whomever that may be, to use the procedures that are in place and maybe need to be reviewed and evolve, but to use those procedures to carry out our desire, which I think I speak for all 7 of us when I say our desire is we want to do absolutely what's right by our employees. But there may be better ways to handle it than allowing everyone to come and have an interview. So that's my 37 cents.
Are we on that? We're talking about attendance, aren't we?
No, we're
This
talking
is
about
the
policy.
board
policy.
policy.
Oh, do we have a motion on that?
Yeah.
Where am I?
Where are you? Did you take a pain
Has that pain
pill?
pill kicked in yet?
Where are we at? We're on D?
We're on B.
GCD.
GCD.
Oh, I am so sorry. Who made the motion?
Bing.
I am sorry. Okay.
I would
was
just like
wondering
to
why you
say,
hadn't
I'm
jumped in there.
sorry.
that's okay.
Um,
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, and I spoke a little bit last meeting too. I feel like our role of the board is not to make policies to tell our administrators, central office and our building administrators what to do and what they have to do. I feel like we make policies. I sometimes think that we walk a line. You know, we want to make sure that we don't tell them too much of what they have to do. We want to support them. We want to give them guidance on the things that we think are important based on our mission. But this is one of those areas that I feel like we're overstepping a little bit by telling them you have to interview every person. That doesn't mean that a board administrator or a building administrator can't or won't or chooses to or not to. But I think that we need to leave that in their hands, because I think that we don't want to step over that line where we are trying to micromanage the district in areas that we've hired people that are qualified and we pay to do those things. I think that hopefully our superintendent and our assistant superintendents and our building administrators will go through the channels to have communication with the people they need to in order to determine if they have some questions about shouldn't I, or where should I be on this. But I honestly do not, and I've really given it a lot of thought, I honestly do not feel like it's for us to make a policy for. Also, MSBA, Missouri School Boards Association, recommended, didn't say we can't, there's no legal reason we can't, but they recommended we do not make a school board policy, and our school attorneys recommended that we didn't. No legal reason we can't, but their recommendation was as well. And I feel like we pay them to be part of that organization and to use the services of our attorney because of their knowledge and experience, and to get some of that information and feedback from them so that we can make some of the right decisions. So, I'm sorry, I don't know why I skipped right over the other one.
That's okay.
I just would echo Gina's thoughts. I believe it's our job as a board to enforce policy, not to formulate policy. The policies that we do have should be enforced, and I believe it's our job to make sure they are enforced, and if they're not, then we need to take appropriate action. But I don't believe it's our job to come up with policies.
And I do want to say too, being for your, I did take a pain pill, so that's probably a little bit. I want to be able to stay in this meeting. For you and anybody else that has some strong feelings about this, and the other way, I think that I don't want to take away from the fact that it's not a possibility for people that are eligible, or people are qualified, or people that are certified to be able to, because I think that still can happen. We're not saying that can't happen, but we're not saying that you have to do this. Also, too, and there's kind of a fine line in the sand. Sometimes somebody can be hired into a position that isn't qualified, but they get a little bit of time in order to get those qualifications. So does that open that up to some of those people as well, too? So not to take away from, things that you said that I think are very valuable.
I'm kind of like Chris on this. I've back and forth and thought about it quite a bit. And ultimately, we are governance, draft the policies, and we're in the middle of the superintendent search. To me, this sends a message to any candidates. The board's stepping into management. They're making changes that I now have to live with. They're not trusting me. We talked about we need to trust send a message to the staff that we believe in them, that we support them. Okay, you do this. We've now sent a message to administration or to the building principals. Well, maybe we don't trust you as much. We want to make sure. Well, I think that's getting into management. We need to stay in the governance. I understand the theme, and it feels good, but I'm just, again, I kind of have to land on the same side. I just don't think it's the right thing to do.
I reached out to a former superintendent, and he said almost every part of this verbatim when I reached out to get some guidance from him, because like you, I definitely understand the need for this, but then there's the other side, and it boils down to governance versus management. And he said almost everything verbatim that was set up here. Any other discussion?
I have been asked to do a roll call vote on this issue.
Okay, very good.
We have a motion and a second to approve the revisions to Board Policy GCD1 as presented. Tina?
No.
Sorry, I'm going to go in order so I can mark these. Gina?
No.
Chris?
No.
Bing?
Yes.
Nancy?
No.
Doug Meyer?
No.
Doug Alexander?
No.
Thank you.
All right, new procedures for attendance.
Dan is going to take this.
Yep, we had a committee look at this. Mr. Wiegers and I were talking about attendance and different methods we could use to improve it. But basically, there was a attendance team of 2 board members, Nancy and Bing, 5 parents and various school personnel that looked at this. Like we said, we met 4 times. The proposal's there. If you open it up, the meat and potatoes is under the current policy, JED. There is no correlation between a student's attendance percentage and their ability to participate in extracurricular activities. Again, our goal is to have the students at school 90% of the time. And just so you know, that's 17 days of missed school, and you're still at 90% attendance. And so that's the goal from the state. But also, it's important to be at school regularly. You miss direct instruction, it's hard to make up. And the older you get, school-wise, the harder it is to make up. And so, under our current attendance, so the proposed change is when a student's attendance falls below 90%, the student will become ineligible for dances, field trips, for participation in school-sponsored activities, and involvement in graduation ceremonies. Now, we'll talk a little bit more about that. A doctor's note dated or a funeral notice were the only reasons for exemption towards that 90%. The graduation ceremonies that we're talking about, again, they need to maintain a cumulative 90% attendance in order to participate. Students will not be able to participate, but will still graduate and receive their diploma. And then we would stair-step that in based on what class you're in right now. So, again, I know you've read it. We're bringing it to you for information. If you have questions, and then we're going to take it action in July.
I have questions about the
June. Sorry, July. Skip the month there. Sorry.
I have questions about the percentage for graduation. Where does that number come from? That they have to be there 90% of the time to walk across the stage.
We are adding that to the policy. That's what the state's goal is for the attendance. There's a 90-90 rule that they have. They want 90% of the students being here 90% of the time, and so we're piggybacking off that goal.
So is that pretty standard? I mean, do other schools do that? Require the 90?
I do. Some do, some do not.
Okay.
Okay. I don't. Cameron, they did, but again, I don't know of that many schools that do it. It's something that we're trying because it kind of ties back to what we talked about earlier about the flatline attendance and the ADA. And, when students aren't here, it's tough. And it's tough educationally. And, again, we're being counted on that by DESE is at 90%. So that's the goal we set.
And through these meetings, it was pointed out that the high school level has the lowest percentage. So that's why this suggestion is focusing on high school activities and extracurricular graduation, because you have to motivate those kids to want to be there.
And so by putting that in place, has that been proven that increases attendance? Okay.
Speaking from experience in the former district, we implemented the policy and it helped tremendously.
Okay.
When parents start getting letters saying their students in danger of not being able to participate in graduation ceremonies, it tends to parent becomes more involved. And then honestly, if you look at the data, it's our juniors and seniors, their attendance is awful. I mean, it's the worst. When you start telling them they can't go to prom, homecoming, graduation coming up, attendance.
And we're going to publicize it, go through the whole, Jill develop a plan to promote it to parents and get the information out there if in June, it's approved. But yeah, we just feel we have to do something.
It talks about extracurricular attendance, and it specifically says dances, field trips. Does it include sports as well?
For participation in school-sponsored activities.
Okay,
Yep.
okay.
We tried to make
I just
it.
wonder because it.
Right, we named a
had
few
some
there, but then we
specifics.
made it more global. Sorry, Gina, to step
That's
on top of
okay.
you there.
The other thing is, everything on here says proposal and procedure and all, but you're wanting to make it a policy?
Nope, we want it to be a procedure.
Oh, you want it to be a procedure, okay.
Yep.
And then, I hesitate a little bit, I'm not for or against, but I hesitate a little bit about the graduation part of it. And this is the reason, and I need to get my head wrapped around it and think of it, but I just wanted to throw it out there. I think, when I first read it, my thought is that there's some people that do everything they can to graduate, and for whatever reason, they can't hit that 90%. And do we take that one thing is the only one I'm going to question. Do we take that one thing away from them to get, because that might be the only thing that some people, might be the highest level of education or ceremonial thing that they get to do, and we take that one thing away from them.
Yeah, again, I think everybody on this team grappled with those same feelings that you're having there and thoughts, and that's why, get a month to think about it. And again, when I think people on the team, when they found out that you can make 90% attendance and still be absent 17 days a year. Okay, and again, doctor's notices when dates are excusal, going to a funeral, is an excusal reason to be excused, but
these are unexcused absences.
yeah,
17, that's a lot.
That's what I'm saying.
That's a lot.
17 unexcused
any, just
absences.
17 absences, because even if you're gone, it still counts against you as an absence. But
So it's not unexcused, but there are a couple things that are not considered in the 17.
I have two concerns here. Well, and first let me state, I absolutely agree with the premise.
Oh, yeah.
Rear ends in seats is part of the ingredients to student achievement, so don't take my comments as a statement that premise is invalid. I believe it is. Graduation was my first hiccup, and when I first read this, I actually contacted a couple of teachers, a couple of friends who have kids, and some other folks, and said, just tell me your opinion. And universally, the graduation component was a huge concern. And here's the thought that permeated everything else. We have specific requirements for graduation. One of those requirements is you must pass all of these classes. Well, if they're passing those classes, yet they have all of these unexcused absences, I don't know, maybe that addresses another issue, but we, at the end of that, and I recognize that this says we'll still present them a diploma, they just can't participate in the ceremony, but when a student graduates from Harrisonville High School, we as a community come together, as we did just a couple of days ago, and celebrate with them and celebrate that accomplishment. Now we're saying graduation requirements haven't changed, but if you want us to celebrate with you, we're adding a requirement. That's my showstopper with this. And my other concern is I actually built, this is how this impacted me after I got this and read it. I made a little spreadsheet, and I realized, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, I can bring them next month certainly, but there's a point, if you miss a lot of class your freshman year, your sophomore year, then you figure it out, you have that epiphany. It still may be virtually impossible, if not very, very difficult, to get back up to 90%. Which leads to a question I had about this, is the 90% for, and I realize we're stepping it in over 4 years, but for the incoming freshman class, that 90% requirement, is that cumulative? So if they have 34 absences their freshman year, and then 90% average for the next 3 years, are they still done, unable to attend, or is it year by year? Okay.
You'd miss 68 absences in 4 years not to make that.
I agree, and I recognize it's a lot.
The reason we made it cumulative in Cameron was that we're held responsible by DESE every year for 90% being there 90% of the time. So we felt like if we make it a cumulative, they'll make more of an effort to get the kids to school
I struggle with this one too because I absolutely agree with what we're trying to achieve.
I do too.
The graduation, and maybe it's just because we just went through it, and my last kid, it was a big deal at our house, and it was kind of a crapshoot as to whether or not we were going to make it. But that's another story. The other issue that came out a lot, and I want to do some more thinking on this, is I know with my family, one of the challenges we had with an earlier student I had was absences. We were never at this level, but we were at least once at the level where I had to go and talk to the counselor and do some things because, and I won't say that we were never buffaloed. Gee, Mom, Dad, I don't feel good. You make that choice as a parent, and sometimes you just get it wrong. I'm sure that happened, but we had several instances in one semester where they were legitimately sick, had a fever. We honor and recognize and agree with the 24-hour rule, but we're not going to run them to the doctor. And even if they're out for 2 or 3 days with a low-grade fever or throwing up, we've never had that. Even when we made lots of money, we never really had that kind of resource to take them to the doctor. So there was never, or in those cases, there were no doctor's notes. That's a concern. That's not a showstopper for me. I want to think about that some and kind
Well,
of
Chris,
get
that's
my
why we
arms
brought it to you this month for information. You get a month, think about it, ask questions, reach out to Mark or myself. But in our opinion, where we're coming from too, the graduation is what's going to help drive this whole policy. By having that in there, we're hoping kids are going to attend because we want them to get there. Don't get me wrong, but if you start taking things out, then it's like, okay, there's really no, I'd say, teeth to it at that point. But
How many students do we have that have missed 68 days of school?
I couldn't tell you 68. I think right now,
Yeah.
the schools, it's in my report, 76% that are above 90%, 76.1, something like that.
that are above 90?
Yeah.
So that means 24 or 76, you said? Yeah.
5%.
Yeah.
So you're
But you're saying if you take the ceremony, the graduation away, the rest of this isn't worth anything?
It would. I think it lose some of its teeth.
What, speaking from past experience, those kids who are attendance problems, that are on the edge, and they are at-risk kids, well, they are at-risk kids. The graduation ceremony is a bigger deal to the parent than it is the student. We had several students who graduated from Wildcat Academy this year that didn't participate in the ceremony. It's not a big deal to them. It is to parents. So when you start telling them, when you're sending letters home or calling the parents saying they're in danger of not being able to participate, the parent becomes more involved. That's what.
And did you say the attendance starts to drop off? Their junior, senior year is more of an issue?
Once they turn 17, that's that magic age where
Drive. They can
Well,
drive
that-
themselves to school.
and, there's no legal action to do.
Is there any potential to make it cumulative of your junior, senior years, leaving out your freshman, sophomore years?
I'm sure we'll do. We're bringing a proposal to you. Let's work out something. But I don't think it should be too hard to do record keeping on that. But never heard that before, Doug. So give some time to mull it over too, like you guys are.
Dan, we want the seats filled for education purposes. What's the tie to DESE, the 90% number? What does us being at 76%, what does that do short-term, long-term for us?
For APR, it lowers our points that we receive from DESE on our report card. And so, like last year, you got 0 out of 10. The high school got 0 out of 10 on attendance.
Each building gets 10 points
Yeah.
in the building APR, and then the district gets 10 points on the district APR. Last year, Harrisville High School was 0.
I don't want to bring it up.
How did that hurt the district as a whole, having a 0?
Yeah, we received 6 out of 10 as a district on attendance last year. And again, it's not about chasing APR points, but it's part of the whole conversation. And if we were to receive those 4, we would have been, I think, low 90% on APR, which is the benchmark. We want to get to 90. And so this is one of the things we can do. But again, I think we've all, I just look around for this, we've all had or have high school kids or nieces or nephews. High school gets hard to make up when you're gone a lot of times. You're not getting that direct instruction. You're not getting the homework or assignments that day, and all of a sudden, you're gone 15 days. It's pretty tough to make that up and be successful.
And the other part of that I'm just thinking out loud about is that if we don't do something to enforce it and encourage them to be at school more, what's going to happen when they go, if they go to college, if they start a job? You miss 15 days at work, you're fired. So, I mean, I was first...
Lifelong, yeah.
I mean, it's a lifelong habit that we either encourage or we break it at this age. And so I first read this, and I was hung up on the graduation. But sitting here thinking about it, if I did that at work, that I would not have a job anymore. So, at some point, reality has to hit for these kids. So whether it's because they're old enough to make the decision to go to school or not, you're going to have 200 jobs in your lifetime because you started a habit badly when you were 16, 17, 18 years old.
Your point is very well taken, and a lot of the comments that I got from folks that I agree with, but I don't feel quite as strongly about, but to be fair to them, were relative to other activities. What about the kid who again, does poorly for a couple of years, has the epiphany, starts to change, and then really doesn't like school, doesn't perform well in school, but he comes because he can play ball or he's in band or whatever. And their concern was, is this a disincentive to those kids? For me, I'm probably more on your side of that one. I think, we don't want to have a toothless tiger, certainly. But I just, the graduation ceremony, I recognize that that's teeth to the policy, but it's also the pinnacle of that period of life. And it feels to me like a double standard to say, here are the graduation requirements. You missed a whole bunch of days, but you still managed to pass all of your classes. And that's the part that I'm kind of stuck with. You still got a D, whatever the minimum requirement is, but we're not going to celebrate with you. So, okay, I've repeated myself. There's no point in
So
more
if
of
we,
that.
between now and next month, we have some questions.
Sure. Yep. Reach out to us, please.
Well, Ben, to piggyback off of what Doug was asking as how this affects us, I think you mentioned in the committee meetings that there is a dollar effect as well to these absences that hurts the district.
Yep. We're losing, yeah. We get money.
Significant.
Yeah.
The dollar amount is significant.
Can you talk to us about that?
No, not the specific dollar amount. I think we boiled it down to, was it $8 an absent hour?
Yeah.
I think it was $8 to $9 an absent hour that we lose
Per
out.
student.
Per student, yep.
Significant.
A lot of people don't think about this when they think about attendance, but stress it puts on teachers. When you have a kid who's gone out of your classroom 5, 6, 7 days in a semester or quarter, I mean, it's teacher's responsibility to call back up and those absences do add stress to teachers.
And depending on how long they're caught up or they're out, they may not ever completely catch up. I mean, like, if you had a kindergartner that was out that many days, kindergarten, first grade, second grade, that's the key learning time where they're learning the absolute basics. If they miss days like that, that child may never learn to read right.
We can get back, we will revisit and get back to you on that.
And again, please reach out with questions. I know I'm not saying out of the box thinking, but it is kind of, and we have a challenge with attendance in this district. We're trying to come up with some ways to try to improve it.
It's a lot lower than I anticipated.
We appreciate that. I mean, don't lose that in this, because you're doing absolutely the right stuff.
All right, we will move on to the advanced placement dual credit stipends.
Yep. Again, we're bringing for information in May, ask for approval in June. Beginning next year, we're asking the district would like to stop the process of paying a stipend to high school and career center teachers that teach an advanced placement or dual credit class. Currently, we pay $4,200 for a stipend, depending on enrollment. And to 21 teachers, we budget an amount of $53,400 on those stipends. We would grandfather in the stipends to the people that already are teaching those classes. So we're not talking about taking anything away. We grandfather them in, but for new teachers hired to those positions, we would not. They would not be offered a stipend to teach those. I did check around with other districts. We continue to pay for the training associated with those classes, but Belton, Ray-Pec, Kearney, and Lee Summit, and Pleasant Hill don't offer any additional pay. While Green Valley pays 1 to 5% of their salary schedule, depending on enrollment.
Okay, so one of my questions is, we, based on several conversations recently, we still have, we still feel strongly that it's important that we have those offerings, right? That we offer dual credit to our students. And this is AP and dual credit, is what this recommendation is, right?
Yes.
Have you, honestly, 4 years ago when this was put in place without a plan, I wasn't super happy about it. That might have been supportive of it. However, because there wasn't a plan, and we had a teacher that had one student that didn't finish the dual credit class and got $4,200, and we had a teacher in the district who had 150 students in an online Blackboard class that got $4,200. So I mean, there were some problems at that point. But I'm curious. I'm curious if we take it away altogether, that incentive, and have it to zero on AP and dual credit. I'm curious if we'll have teachers that still are willing to do that extra work and jump through those hoops and grade those papers and do that work with dual credit. And I'm not exactly sure how the AP works.
Well, I guess I'm not being flippant here, but I will say I know every one of those 5 other schools that don't offer anything. They all offer AP and dual credit classes. So the teachers are doing those things without any financial incentive in those other districts. And I know that doesn't make it right, but I understand the validity of what you're saying. But and we're not going to go down to zero. We're still going to pay the teachers that are there, and they're still teaching those classes that have it. We're going to grandfather and still give them that stipend.
Is there
It's our new hires.
term limit on how long they're grandfathered in? So we got 21 teachers. Are they grandfathered till they leave the district?
Yep.
Till they teach the class?
Till they leave the district.
Yep. So if
Or quit teaching the class.
Yeah.
That's what I was going with that. If they quit teaching it, then they lose the stipend, but they can't come back in and say, "Oh, I was grandfathered 2 years ago when I was doing this."
Right.
They would be counted as a new person teaching.
I know, and basically the reason that you're going to bring this as a suggestion is because we need the $53,400 somewhere else, or because other districts aren't doing it, or what's driving it?
Okay.
Kind of an equity and fairness.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people who'd like to teach advanced placement. If I were going to teach, I probably would. More than I would maybe some other. So, but the way it's sizing up with class size and all those kinds of things, it makes more sense. For that to be an assignment in itself, rather than give you an additional $4,300 to do it, because it's pretty good. It's a pretty good assignment to do that, and none of the other schools have experienced any difficulty, in having people do it or whatever. But in fact, I suspect more people would like to do it than get to do it. It would be my guess.
That's advanced placement or dual credit?
And both.
Because our district offered advanced placement stipends years before we started doing dual credit, right?
Right.
So, but we're looking at both.
Looking at both.
I'm sorry, Jason.
I couldn't hear him.
Colleges pay some of the stipends for dual credit.
For
also.
the teachers? So they'd still be
Is that true? I mean,
for dual
still
credit or
have-
for advanced placement?
Each college is unique. I mean, dual credit, not advanced placement.
Some of the colleges pay? So would we allow our teachers to receive that from the colleges if they were doing it on our time? Would that be a conflict of interest? I mean, a double dip?
No, I don't think so. Do we have anyone that receives
I would have to check on that.
I don't think we have, I don't think we.
Yeah, you think we do? Yeah.
They turn it in.
They have to turn it in. The current policy, they turn it in to us.
I don't think.
And that's another thing we have to fish through sometimes to get
Yes.
from them.
So if we didn't offer the stipend and they were getting paid through the college to work the time on school, it wouldn't be double dipping? Like if they, so let's say somebody
Teacher A.
was dual credit with ABC University and ABC University paid them, but they're teaching it on their regular contract time, would that be double dipping?
Yeah, we wouldn't change. We wouldn't change that. The money would still have to come back here
us.
to do
Comes
that.
to the school.
This is just your teaching assignment as part of your teaching history. Then
Right.
you've got the advanced placement or dual credit classes or what, just like it would be any other person who teaches
Right.
5 out of 6 or 4 out of 5,
So
whatever.
if you were a teacher at Harrisville High School working for a college or a post-secondary institution that paid you a stipend, you could accept that stipend?
No, not the way it's set up.
Okay.
You'd have to come to us.
Comes to us.
It is now.
Her policy.
It is now.
Oh,
But under this new proposal where we do away with the stipend
It
we're
still would,
paying.
because that policy is
Right.
still in effect.
No,
It would be theirs then.
That won't change anything. We're just not. We are not
Right.
going, as
So-
a district.
If
So
anybody new coming in.
if this proposal is approved, and regardless of people they're grandfathered in, but all the other people, if this proposal is approved and we don't pay that stipend anymore,
Right.
then if they worked for a college that gave them a stipend, they could collect that
Correct.
stipend. Okay, I was just curious.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I know now they can't collect that stipend in ours, I know that. Okay. Thank you for all the answers.
All right, the 2018-19 certified salary schedule. We need a motion.
Make the motion to approve the 200 addition to the base plus a vertical step increase to 2018-19 certified salary schedule.
Second.
Discussion.
I was just going to say I appreciate the work on this, and I like this. I also appreciate your comments, Marcy, earlier, and I'd like to do a deeper dive into that. Don't want to get in the way of what we're doing right now, but I liked the way that sounded.
I wrote it down to ask for follow-up on that, on how that.
Yeah, I'd like
Yeah,
to
yeah.
see it, but anyways.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. 2018-19 degreed non-teaching salary schedule. We need a motion.
I move to approve the agreed non-teaching, I'll get this right, the agreed non-teaching salary schedule as presented with a vertical step increase for 2018-2019.
Second.
Easy for you to say.
Discussion? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we need to move on to the 2018-19 substitute teacher pay schedule. Motion?
I move we approve the 2018-19 substitute as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, 2018-19 other instructional pay schedule. We need a motion.
Move to approve 2018-19 other instructional pay schedule as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 2018-19 coaching salary schedule. We need a motion.
I move we approve the 2018-19 coaching salary schedule based on the $200 addition to the base of the certified salary schedule.
Second?
Second.
All right, any discussion?
I do have a question. The swim coach position, I noticed somewhere there are two, are they co-coaching that again?
Yes.
So that amount will be split in two, I assume? Okay. Got it.
no changes to what we have done last year.
Let the record reflect, I will abstain in this vote.
Any further discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, 2018-19 extra duty stipends. We need a motion?
I move to approve the 2018-19 extra duty stipends as presented.
Second.
I would just like to draw attention to the fact that the broadcast media at the HSS is only a stipend of $390. Pretty much every other one is $480, a difference of $90. I know we discussed why that was different, but it seems to be an outlier there.
What is the reason for the difference?
Jason, it's just been,
No changes. It's been that way for.
I went clear back to 910, and it's been that. I think originally they were based on the amount of time needed to do that position.
Is that amount of time less still?
I would say you might know more about that, Mr. Riggers. If they're virtually even, you can amend it.
Yeah.
Pass it.
I'd say it's probably grown.
I mean, that would be my assumption as well.
Again, I've
We-
been here 1 year, so I can't speak to what it was in the past, but
Is that Mr. Cole?
Actually, none of us were really, so that's kind of an inherited prospect, and certainly wouldn't have any problem if you want to
So
Amend it
amend
to
that,
increase that where
amend that
it's.
to it.
Mhm.
You're talking $90.
Mhm.
We'll be all right.
Okay.
I hope so.
I would like to amend my motion to read that I move to approve the 2018-19 extra duty stipends with the addition of,
That was amended to increase the.
as amended, to increase the the broadcast media stipend from $390 to $480.
Do we need a second on that?
That probably, yeah, second.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
of course, I had to think about that.
Thank you, Bean.
Yeah.
And I have a question. What is the PhD at HHS? One's 500 and one's 1,500. What is that on the last page?
That's been in place for quite a while too. Our policy is $500.
But what
at
is it?
some for those that have a doctorate.
PhD.
Why is that on extra duty?
Because it's a stipend, so we account for it.
Yeah, it's a stipend that's accounted for.
Oh.
Not on the
Okay.
regular salary schedule.
What's the difference
It makes you
between
feel better, Nancy? I
PhD1
asked
and
that question
PhD2?
several years ago.
So one is
Many years ago,
one
it
is
was
500 and one is 1,500.
one got 1,500, potentially before there was policy.
I don't understand.
No,
Nancy,
remember
should-
she has a true
PhD. Yes.
The other
The
one's
difference
for
between
any
an
doctorate in education.
educational doctorate and a PhD.
So the PhD would be 500, the actual
No,
doctorate.
no,
other way around.
other way around.
Other way around.
Yeah.
How many positions does this involve?
Two.
So one is an actual doctorate in
PhD.
education, and one has a doctorate in something else.
Correct.
So why is one
No,
with more
there's a
than the-
difference in a PhD and an EDD, and that's probably why it was on there to
Right.
begin with. From if you go to graduate school, PhD is focused
Right.
extremely on research and foreign language and other things. What the EDD may not be and is not.
So is one of these
And-
an EDD?
Yes.
Yes, one is
Why
an
doesn't
EDD.
it say EDD?
Is
That
that something we
would
can
make
change
a lot
pretty
more
easily without making it a
Yeah.
board motion?
That's just how we put it on there. Yeah.
No.
It'd be clearer that way.
It would.
Yeah.
I know what a PhD is.
Well, I know.
That's why I asked why is one 500 and one 1,500.
Is there any other discussion? All right, we've got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. 2018-19 clerical technology business office salary schedule. We need a motion.
I move to approve the 2018-19 Clerical Technology Business Office salary schedule as presented with a vertical step increase.
Second.
Discussion. All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 2018-19 food service salary schedule. We need a motion.
I move we approve the 2018-19 food service salary schedule as presented with a vertical step increase.
I will second.
Discussion? All right, we've got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And I just do maintenance, or did I do food service?
No, you just did
food service.
You're ready
We
for
need
me.
to do maintenance.
Getting lost. 2018-19 maintenance custodial salary schedule.
Move to approve the 2018-19 maintenance custodial salary schedule as presented with a vertical step increase.
Second.
Discussion? All right, motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? And 2018-19 focus facilitator paraprofessional aid salary schedule. Motion.
I move to approve the 2018-19 Focus Facilitator Paraprofessional Aid salary schedule as presented with a vertical step increase.
Second.
Discussion?
I need to abstain on this one.
Okay. Any other discussion? All right, motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, business services.
All right, everyone need a deep breath after that? Okay, regroup here. Okay. Information this month. We would like to, administration's seeking approval to partner with BIST, Behavioral Intervention Support Team, for the 18-19 school year and beyond. We used to have a contract with BIST. It's a philosophy of dealing with student behaviors. We're asking to get the contract put back in place as we develop our multi-tier support system with Tier 1 behavioral supports. All 5 schools would be participating. They would have a BIST consultant to meet with monthly. Thank you, Kathy. And again, the cost would be $12,100 and would be paid from Title II funds. We looked at 3 different programs a team did of Kathy and myself and administrators and teachers and counselors, and we felt BIST best met our needs.
When,
Okay.
I remember BIST a little bit. When we quit using BIST, was there a reason? And how long ago was that? It
believe
wasn't
it was
that
3
long,
years
was it?
ago.
Was it 3 years ago?
Yeah, and I don't want to speak for anybody else. I don't know why it was let go. I
It wasn't
have a feeling it was.
problem?
It was what?
Was there a problem with
No,
it?
not with
Okay.
them. I think it just maybe support for who people that were in charge at that time didn't think it was necessary. But I don't know what else to say.
Did we notice a change in behavior in kids without a program like that in place? I mean, but we still kind of follow those guidelines.
We do
now.
BIST light, kind of. Yeah, yeah.
I can say we
Yeah.
never officially gave it up completely
Yeah.
at the elementary level because it's hard to go without it.
For the last 3 years, we've hired teachers and not given them any support to deal with the disruptive student or what's the process to follow. We want to support our teachers and our students along the way, and that's why we're asking for this.
And
Dude.
that's why it failed.
And it's a
Continual education and support.
Which,
See,
with our
two
$12,100 a year, will give us that, right?
They gives us the person that comes down and works on the PD with the buildings. Marty, who is the head of this, is going to come and do a 1-day rebist twice a year, and so that will be at a cost that we're negotiating.
And the 1, 2, 3, 4, the 5, you said that Kathy and you and somebody else did.
I think we had 7 people there that day. Yeah.
So my question is, of the 5 buildings are all building administrators? I know we have one that was not supportive of and like this program.
Yes, I would say with the ones that were there. I think the high school is going to be the biggest selling point. Mark and I and the director of BIST are going to sit down in May, once everything settles down a little bit, and look at how we can use that at the high school. Because really at the core of it is how the relationship piece between students and staff. And we don't have to call it, and they use the same vocabulary that they do at the elementary level, but we still need to have that relationship piece. When you do something wrong, I'm not just going to send you away, I'm going to talk to you. And so that's how we're looking at it. And also, too, we have students that leave 8th grade on behavioral plans that go to 9th grade, and we have no support for them. And so all of a sudden we're going to send these kids to the high school and not have any support whatsoever, but all along you've had a behavioral plan or a plan or a person to work with you to manage your behavior, and all of a sudden you get to the high school and we don't have that. And so.
And then several years ago when we quit working with them officially, the high school wasn't involved in that then, right?
They were not.
So this is new too.
We get a better group rate by having everybody involved.
I
Do
like
we
that. People
track-
talk the same language.
Do we track we utilize that to see how much participation we're getting?
We do from the focus rooms at the elementary level. They track the visits, either proactive or reactive, to the focus rooms by students. The teachers track how many times you have user safe seat and things of that nature. Is that what you're asking, Doug?
Yeah, and then how much the BIS, so we can see are we going to notice a reduction in some of that?
We would hope to. That would be the goal.
And we'll have a way to kind of look at that.
Mm-hmm.
And then the expenditures, will they all come from the district level, or will some of it come from the building level budgets?
It's going to come from Title II.
Oh, okay, I read that.
We have
I'm sorry.
it in Bing?
Is this one person doing all of the buildings, or is it
5 people, yeah, one per. And that's a good question, man, because in the past it was one person doing our whole building, or our whole district, excuse me. And so now, when we talked, Marty thought it would be a much better way, and they have more BIS people now. We call them bistresses. They have more bistresses, so it'll be one per building now.
And for all 5 of those, it's only the 12,100.
Correct.
Not 12,000.
No.
Okay.
No.
It was not called the safe seat when I was in elementary school, but I did spend some.
It was
I
called
know
the
you'll
corner.
take it as it's a shock, but I was talking a lot.
Shot was called the safe hat.
Safe hat.
I remember somebody, and Ms. Campbell, it may have been you, when I was on the board previously, somebody came and made a presentation to us, and I remember being very impressed.
Yep.
I honestly, until I saw this on the agenda, didn't know we weren't using it anymore. But I was my impression years ago was this makes sense and this works. So,
and we're trying to build up our tier 1 supports behaviorally and academically, and this would be a big component of the behavioral part.
Is this going to be full-time, or are they there part-time?
What? They're there they come once a week, or excuse me, once a month, or as needed. They'll come down for like PD days, or they come down for a staff meeting, if you want to make it like a BIS staff meeting where they talk about that. I'm planning to ask them to come to our Wildcat Learning Network and present, so they'll be around more than that. They're pretty generous with their time, I think, in the past.
All right. Any other questions?
You can always call them. Yeah, there you go.
All right, we will move on to the Airmark contract extension. We need a motion.
I move to approve the 1-year extension to the Aramark Management Services Agreement as presented.
Second.
I'll second that.
Discussion.
Does this amount include any supplies, or is it just services?
It's services and it's management services. So management and equipment and some cleaning supplies, as in the chemicals, not the disposables. So not the paper towels and the toilet paper, but the chemicals used for cleaning.
So what sort of equipment do they provide?
Everything.
Floor machines.
All the floor machines, mops, brooms. I mean, we'll buy some like push brooms, but all those microfiber rags, push brooms, all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
So basically cleaning things. It's not at the maintenance side. It's not maintenance.
It's custodial services.
And then this is to allow for, if I read the comment, allow for time to research alternative options.
Correct. We're the end of June is the end of our 5-year contract that has been in place since 1985, with a few amendments along the way. In our time of transition right now, we recommend the extension to look at this for how we move forward in the future.
And this amount includes the salary of one person and benefits?
Yes, we don't, yes.
Okay, and that's not a PSRS
No.
position?
They're not our, no,
our
they're not
employee.
a school
Okay.
employee.
It's just that, just one, right, with benefits,
Yep.
okay.
So theoretically, next year, we'll be looking at probably a 5-year contract from somebody, whether it be a
Correct.
marker. Okay.
And then we'll send it out for bids, obviously.
Yeah.
Is there any other companies that we know of out there that do this? Because this is a pretty big company.
Yeah, there are.
Yeah.
There are other ones?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't know they had the market on this type of.
Aramark is,
Service.
Aramark,
It's huge.
custodial services of Aramark is not very big. Aramark is bigger in many other areas. And there are some companies out there that are focused just on custodial too. So,
Any other discussion? We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. Surplus property. We need a motion.
I move to declare as surplus property the items as listed.
Second.
Discussion. Okay, that was quick.
I read the list of
I did,
textbooks in my
You do,
eyes.
okay, yes, it does get sent out to everybody in the district right first, before we, okay.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? And Booster Club contracts. We need a motion.
I move to approve the contracts as presented between the Harrisonville Booster Club Incorporated and the Harrisonville Cassar 9 School District for the lease of a 1997 Prevost 56-seat bus and a 1997 Prevost 58-seat bus for transportation of students on district-sponsored extracurricular trips for the one-year period ending June 30th, 2019.
Good job. And a second.
I'll second.
Discussion. All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Now, we need a motion to adjourn to reconvene in closed in 5 minutes.
5 minutes. That's good.
Perfect.
I
Need a
move
motion?
to adjourn the